Hey there. So we are moving along in the orange, the second chakra cards. I keep calling them cards. Forgive me. I mean the fables, but they are in card form as well. So I talk about them both ways. So in the last week, in our last episode, we talked about service. And this week, actually, this was always one of my favorite fables, is the card of self-worth. It is the fable of the Salmon Chair, and you can see the salmon colored light coming down from the heavens. It is believed that only a few people get to actually see the Salmon Chair, the gift from the great servant. And one of the things there's a couple things remarkable about this. This was always my favorite fable. I remember early on thinking, oh, I just love this story. And some of you may or may not get this, but at the end of the fable, the little Eskimo child crawls into the salmon chair. And I want you to, at the end of this video, if you would, just comment below on your experience of what that actually means for you. I really believe it means lightning strikes twice, and it can. And the truth is that even though we may pass up one opportunity, we may get another chance at it emotionally. And when we think about this as the second fable in the collection, excuse me, you remember, I yawn when I'm in an intuitive state. You remember in the second position, that's the second chakra. This is in the second position. So what does that tell us? It tells us that this is a second chakra card in the second position. So it actually is almost like to the second degree. So it actually highlights and intensifies the emotional connection to this. And something else, the other thing that I wanted to say to you, is that you can look at the little angel. She's formed in the ground there. She's been playing in the snow. The original name of this fable, the card name, because the fable was always the Salmon Chair. And it actually was called the Mighty Salmon Chair when I first, because it's in there, the Mighty Salmon Chair. It was the first original title, and then when it actually came to the book form, I just changed it to Salmon Chair so we knew what it meant. And then the original key word, though, was deserve. So the key word on this says self-worth, right? And I think it's very interesting that we went from deserve to self-worth, because the idea, of course, of self-worth is that the experience of, do we deserve it? Can we deserve it? And self-worth, of course, is where are you on that scale? Where are you from 0 to 100? And I really feel that when we go back to the original word of deserve, we get the idea here that she finally crawls into the chair because she deserves the love from God, from her higher power, from the great servant. So this is emotionally coming to terms with our highest emotional calling. What does the great goddess, the great servant, whatever you choose to call your higher power, if you will, what does that great servant want for us? And of course, the great servant really wants us to feel her love. That is really key. And when we feel that level of love, we can shine it out to others. So this, as an emotional card, really helps us look at where are we with our relationship to our Creator, and really in the trust of we're being given a gift. Do we have to try to tell everybody that we have the gift, or do we want to enjoy our gift and let people find us with that gift and be inspired by it? So really, when we look at this, we're looking at the entire spectrum emotionally in one card, from whether you're going to look at this as I want to say the elders in the tribe, when she goes back and she tries to convince them that she's seen the Salmon Chair, to her, the youngster. And if you look at a lot of the symbolism in this collection, you're going to find that there's a consistent theme around people in terms of age and ethnicity and who they are, that is just, there's no boundary, there's no border, there's no decision that this is the wise person and this isn't. And so we look at this Eskimo child as being given the gift of this salmon chair, and then needing to tell the elders who don't believe her. So what in our lives are we trying to push up the hill that really is not intended to go up a hill, but perhaps to be taken on inside of us, and that is our gift. So coming off the service card from prior, and how are we being of service, to how are we being service to ourselves? You know, are we being an example of self-worth for others? And in essence, that is my takeaway. Curious to hear what you have to say about the salmon chair actually appearing twice in this fable. So I encourage you to read the fable, of course, because that really is the key to this. And of course, the focus says, "Come sit in my chair and feel my love," says the great servant. So he's really sending down that emotional peace that we get when we connect with the God of our understanding. And that is the idea. Now, of course, in the message, it says our emotions wrap around the idea of deserving. And that's the thing. This is key here. It says when we hold others responsible for degrading our gifts, we lose our emotional freedom. Thus, the question of the week is, am I ready for emotional upliftment? What do I need to let go of to be free? And when we go back to this, holding others responsible for degrading the gift, one of the things that happens with this child in the salmon chair fable is that even though she goes back to the elders and tries to convince them that she's seen the salmon chair, and they do not validate it, it still becomes for her, because she's so young, it hasn't been degraded for her. The wind has certainly been knocked out of her sails. She's kind of disappointed that no one believed that she saw the great salmon chair, and certainly it's kind of frustrating anyway when we try to tell people, oh yeah, that happened to me, and they go, yeah, right. And that's basically what this is. Are we experiencing the naysayers as degrading us, or are we experiencing naysayers as their inability to experience this level of bliss for themselves? And really remembering that the meaning we make of something is the meaning we live through from that experience. So that becomes very important here in terms of deserving, and also in terms of where are we with our emotional relationship to ourselves. Because if you remember, first chakra really is, what are we bringing into the world, right? What is the DNA? What kind of emotions are we getting from our family? And here we start to realize, what emotions are we living through in our life? And again, I am going to encourage you to do the 5 days this week. And let me see. So of course, Monday is you read the fable, and Tuesday, and of course, one of the things that I think I've seen a lot with artists, and particularly when I was teaching voiceover a long time ago, when I would coach and things like that, and people would get in the booth and they'd go, you know, you can be brilliant. And they would really listen to their voice. And there was a young man who came in, and he had the most, butter, beautiful voice. And he would speak, and it would be, but he was like this: today, I am going to be the person I've always wanted to be. And you're like, great voice, but boy, it's like, it feels like he's falling in love with his own voice or trying to sound good. So if we think about that, trying to impress others with what we know or don't know, as opposed to when I said to him, just stop, just read. He was like, what? I said, just read the page. Just understand what you're saying. You do not understand. What did you just say? And he went, I don't know. So when I said to him, just pick up something and read it. Just read it to me as an understanding of it. And he picked, and I'm just going to say, when he said, connecting with yourself and others, I was like, oh my gosh, that was brilliant. Because you see, he already had the voice. He didn't need to sound good. He needed to understand what he was communicating. So when we are trying to get someone to listen to us, oftentimes the focus is not on ourselves and what the message is, it's more on, do they get it? And when we are sourcing outside of ourselves in terms of, as in the emotions, an internal feeling, and what does that mean for me? Because once I know what a feeling means to me, I can communicate it to you. But if I don't know what it means, I'm going to be like, look at my brilliance, you know, and I'm trying to convince you of it. It's like the people who keep wanting to tell you their story when they're writing something, as opposed to just writing it. And I think that's the thing. It was very funny, actually. A few weeks ago, I was in a class. It was like a conference, right? And one of the seminars was about, you know, platform. And of course, I was just kind of like listening because, you know, there were certain things I liked, certain things, you know, take what you like, leave the rest. And this woman was talking about this other person she knew who's a writer, created this beautiful, beautiful website with her trilogy of what their books were. And each book had just in depth of the detail, and it just sounded beautiful website, by the way, gorgeous, just beautiful. Everything was gorgeous. And she said, do you know what's wrong with this? And we were kind of like, she said, the woman has never written a word. She just created this beautiful website, but she didn't do the work. So part of what we can be subject to is trying so hard to get others to validate who we are that we forget that it is in that moment in the Salmon Chair when we get that self, that, if you will, the love of our Creator and what we've been given to give to others, that is when the game shifts. And that is, for me, a big part of Salmon Chair. So I am going to encourage you to look at what the color meaning is. And again, journal journey on Wednesday. Now, I'm saying all this to you, and what I want to share with you is, please be easy with yourself, because even if you just read it, you know, even if you just sat here and you know how you read something and it doesn't register and you're going, what does Salmon Chair say to you? Salmon is a high energy and ready to take action. Salmon listens with feelings. In fact, it relies upon them. Even if you just read it super fast and you go, okay, I did today's assignment. That's brilliant. Because the truth is, your intuition has heard it. Your intuitive self has already heard it. The point of this work is not to get it. It's to be it. It's to be that person that has that full vocabulary of your emotions within each chakra and who you are and who you're developing inside of you. So I encourage you to take this right through making the connection. And I really feel, I've always felt that this work is meant to be done as a community. So I would really like it if you would look at either the solo journey or the group dynamic, and also make some comments if you want about what's coming up for you here. And I think that's going to be the key to this, is like, what are the gifts that you're getting from this Salmon Chair? And finally, doing your meditation and going into it and really getting your experience with the Salmon Chair. And I'm going to leave you with this thought, which is that we all have inside of us the reflection of our Creator. Whether or not we hide it or try to get someone else to see it is all part of the journey, stepping into the light that we are, so that we can light the way for others. And I will see you next week with the next card or fable.